This week on the Austin Healey channel, the brake lines go on, a big order arrives, and I start putting more stuff on the car. Last week I got this mounted, and this week I put some lines on. They're not all connected. I'll show you why in a minute, but I just got off the phone with my dad, and he said, "Oh, you can't run copper for brake lines." Yeah, I know, but this isn't just regular copper. This is an alloy copper, chromium copper, something like that. See, the problem with regular copper is, I know we've talked about this before, but with regular copper, when it wiggles, it will work harden, and when it hardens, it'll crack. So on brake lines, you don't want your brake lines cracking. So they've developed this alloy that stays flexible. It won't work harden like regular copper will. So it's safe to use on brakes. So let me show you a surprise I had. On the original frame, there's just a hole here that's kind of indented, if that makes sense. And then this tube goes through the hole and hooks up directly to here. They changed this in later models to this system, where there's a special clip that this all goes on and it gets bolted in. Problem is, I didn't notice that in time, so I don't have that clip. So I'm gonna have to order one. In the meantime, I was able to run the line up, close to where it goes. There's enough flex in the line to get it. And this is just hanging out, waiting for that clip. Yeah, so that was kind of a surprise. I also have to put more fasteners on the line that goes out to the back brakes. These little fasteners, they require drilling holes in the brand new frame, which is never fun. But then they slip in there and kind of hold the tubes in place. So this morning, the other half of my car showed up, all of this. As you can see, I've got a lot of parts. I think the first 3 cars I owned were cheaper than all of this. Anyway, I'm glad to get it, because it's gonna go on the car, and the car is gonna be finished. This car is a bit different than the first season 1 car for several reasons. One of them is that it was missing a lot of stuff. In some ways this is good, and in some ways bad. It's taken away that the question I have to ask myself, do I need to replace this part or not? You know, is the chrome good enough? Is it not? You know, that sort of question. And in many cases, it's just, can I get the part? Because I don't have one. And really, lots of the parts that I'm replacing probably would have had to been replaced to start with. So, interesting, just a different way to do things. What I need to do now is to go through it and inventory everything, make sure that I got what I paid for, because it's a big order and mistakes get made. I do know there was a lot of parts missing from that were on back order, and there's nothing I can do about that. They let me know about this ahead of time. The big thing that might slow me down there is the wiring loom, because that's kind of an essential piece before you can start putting a lot of other stuff on. But nonetheless, I still have plenty I can do now and move forward. So we're going to start this morning by installing the anti-roll bar. Pretty simple system. You have these rubber plugs and this big bar, and gets bolted on, and then it connects up to the wheel. So let's start with this side. We're going to use some more of our lube on there so it doesn't squeak. Nobody likes squeaky anti-roll bars. Now there's a thing called a roll bar, which keeps the driver from dying when you roll the car over, but that's a different thing. The next step, put these on. They go between the wheel and the arm. And they have these rubber bushings on them. Like that. I've been busy putting it on, so I thought we should talk about what it is in this week's Say What? It's this bit right here. Now, most people call it an anti-roll bar. Some people call it a sway bar, and still others call it a stabilizer bar. No matter what it's called, it has a very simple job to do. When a car goes around a corner, it puts a lot of weight on one side. Well, this bit will transfer some of that weight to the other side to keep the car from rolling so much, or stabilizing the car, or keeping it from swaying. That's it. That's what it does. And that's what it's called. And that's this week's Say What? So I hadn't put the steering column in properly because this piece, the old one, some of the edges were rotted away. And it's a spacer, so there's pressure on this. So I wanted to make sure that it's good. You know, because it's on the steering and stuff. What I'm doing is, you have to remember that nothing just goes in place. So I've had to, I'm slowly sanding the spacer down till it fits correctly. Luckily, it's easier to make things smaller than bigger. So, bit by bit, that one's good. The long bolt that goes in the front and two short ones in the back. I'll tell you, it took a lot of manipulating to get this in there correctly. So I got the seats installed, but I think I had to do a better job than that. So the seat location is necessary before you can put the heat shield on underneath of it. At least on season 1, because it has holes for the bolts that need to line up. So we need to get that going. There's 2 rails there. Oh, there's some wooden pieces somewhere. Oh, they're there. And then they go on this this floor seat pan. So according to the photos I took of the seat location, it is 5 centimeters over from the frame, from the seam, and 22.5 from the back, from here. And that gives you the first locating hole. And then that'll line up. And then you line up the rest of the bolts through there. I don't have one of those fancy step drill things, but I'm going to drill these holes 3 sizes. Start with the smallest, give it a location, and move up. This is a center punch. Basically put it on the spot. Sometimes it works. And it pokes a hole. Well, it dents it so your drill doesn't wander around. Alright, fits in the hole, that's a good thing. So next, we need to use that and line up over the other holes. So we know we want it to be, parallel with the frame. So these are going to be 5 centimeters. Let me show you a little trick to pick up all these shavings. I have all these plastic bags lying around. Drop a magnet in it. And they'll stick to the bag. And you come over to the trash and pull the magnet out. Alright, let's see if it fits. Seems to. Now I never know if this doesn't end up square. I think this is supposed to trap the carpet underneath of it in front. So we're gonna put it in that way and give it a try. It seems no matter how well you mark these out and line them up, they're always off by a little bit. So instead of crawling under the car every time to see which one needs to be adjusted, if you put these on backwards, you can fit it in from the top and see, which one needs adjusted. Looks like this middle one needs a little bit. Then you just file it down a bit until it's right. Upside down. Yeah, it goes this way. You notice it when you go to put this side on. So what we're doing, we're lining this up, and then we're going to use that to line this side up, so we know exactly where the bolts go. There, now I have both of the seats, at least the seat rails, put in place. I put the floor stuff in just to check that, kind of a reality check, just to make sure that that fits correctly. Yeah, and I know you're thinking, but you haven't done anything, you know, about the heat proofing. Yeah, that'll come. I'll pull these back out and do the heat proofing. Oh, I'm just doing little stuff. I thought it'd be fun to put the pedals in. I have to remember which way they go. And like that. Like that. Yeah, like that, I think. So this long part up. Oh, it's hard to reach back in there. Let's try it from down here. So if you were looking closely in the background of the time lapse with me unloading the car, you might have noticed this thing. And a long time ago I asked for your opinion on what I should do. Should I have used the original louvered bonnet, which was rusty and steel? Should I replace the bonnet with a steel bonnet? Should it be louvered? All this stuff. And after going to the Austin Healey Museum and seeing the Coronet Cream car in their collection, I decided to go with the aluminum. Aluminum, I think, would have been original on this car. The trunk, the boot lid, the trunk lid is aluminum, and the early cars had aluminum hoods, bonnets. Sorry for the British, bonnets and boot lids. So I decided to try to go back to original. I think the steel one that was on it was not the original one. I've gone with this. I very much appreciated all your comments and your input on it, but in the end, I think going back original as I can in at least the looks and materials is the best way forward for this car. Going with this, it'll be a while before I get to the outer body, but in the meantime, if you saw it, I wanted to mention it to you, so you know. I took your comments into consideration, but in the end, seeing the original car in the Healey Museum really pushed me over back to going with what is as close to original as I can do. Part of my order was this new service manual for the 100. You know, I have the one for the 3000, but some things changed, and there's some really great pictures in here. One of the things is this picture here, which shows the door hinges. My door hinges look like that, but I hadn't been able to find a picture of door hinges that are similar, and it was kind of freaking me out. I was thinking maybe they were handmade or fabric cobbled together when it was restored, but no, it turns out they're original, which is cool. I just hadn't I don't see those types of hinges for sale on any of the markets, so very interesting to see. I know we had a really long discussion about the where the shroud meets the front. There's a picture in here. This is kind of looking up from the bottom. You have the two horns, and this is the anti-roll bar, and this right here is where the frame the frame attaches to the front shroud, and it looks like the way I've done it. It doesn't look like it has that extra brace. I know, I'm a nerd, but it's interesting to get the pictures from the service manual and seeing it all line up. I'm going to put the flasher here. I haven't been able to confirm if this is the right place or not, but there is a single bolt hole, which seems to make sense. So we're going to put it there, at least temporarily. And then when the wiring harness comes, we'll see if that can help us determine its exact location. Fitting in these heat shield panels is a bit like a puzzle. I just kind of have them loosely in place. I think this one goes under here, but I'm not exactly sure. It would make sense. And then there's one more big one that goes up underneath the driver. Oh, I know it's dark and stuff. This is the old frame. On the front there's 2 holes here and 2 holes here. They're both tapped for bolting on the horns. Also there's a plate there's a front apron thing. This is the new one that goes here, and those holes line up here to bolt it on. So it holds the horns on, and it also holds on this front apron. On the new one, the new frame, it's not there. So what we're going to do is transfer them over. I have it upside down, just so I don't have to bend over to get it. And I'm going to mark all these U's. I'm going to go through with this and mark the height on all 4 of them. And then I'm going to center punch first pilot hole, a little bit of oil on the drill bit. Next, the right size drill bit. Oh, let's talk about that. What is the right size drill bit? So we're going to tap threads into it with this. There's a very specific size drill. You need to drill the hole out. So this will have enough to cut, but not so much that it breaks. So I looked up, there's a chart, of course. I looked it up, and it's 5.5 millimeter. My chart has a conversion for millimeters and standard drill bits get really weird. They're in fractional sizes, then they're in letter sizes. It's crazy. Plus I can't buy nominal sizes over here, so I buy I buy metric. And so metric's available. I have the right size. We're going to use that to drill the hole. So on this size, it's 1/4 inch bolt, 1/4 inch, 28 threads per inch. Takes 5.5 millimeter. All right, now for my tap. Got to lube it up. This doesn't have a lot of threads to cut, so we don't have to go in very far. Keep it nice and square. Go in a little bit, pull it out, turn it, go in a little bit, back it off, cut off the metal, keeps it from binding up. Now you can just take a bolt and get it in. Now with these, you're not going to want to crank it down really tight because there's not a lot of threads on the sheet metal, but there's enough to hold the horn on. And a reality check. Whether or not this fits on there. Yeah, there we go.
If you want to come along on the ride as we complete this project, click the subscribe button. If you want YouTube to tell you every time there's a new video, click the alarm bell. Thanks for watching, and your support is very much appreciated.